Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Shamsunnahar Yasmin Shams. I'm a senior research fellow at KUT working at CarsQ, and I'm also affiliated with Best Center. Today I'll be presenting a study that was led by one of our visiting PhD scholar, Feng Rong. She has already graduated, and two other co-authors of this study is Professor Shimol and Professor Halai. So without further ado, let us move on to the main presentation. And the presentation is about motorcycle crash injury severity. We know that road traffic crashes is a major serious health concern globally, and Australia is no exception. It's the second leading cause of death in Australia, which accrues billions of dollars. And due to the consequences of these unfortunate events, transportation engineers, planners, practitioners, decision makers, we are constantly seeking for management strategies in terms of proactive, reactive, or systematic managed approaches. And an important tool for devising and identifying these management strategies is the application of behavioral econometric models. These models provide behavioral underpinning or holistic understanding from different aspects based on our research questions or problem set. The application of advanced econometric in road safety model has evolved along two major directions. One is crash severity and another one is crash frequency analysis. And nowadays we have a lot of new databases, and because of that, the real-time crash risk analysis is becoming quite popular. The study that I'll be talking about today, it belongs to the first category, which is crash severity analysis. In any traditional or official crash database, injury severity is recorded as an ordinal scale variable ranging from no injury, minor, major, serious, and fatal injury. Every jurisdiction and country has their own definition, but the idea is that it represents the scale of severity. So as you can see, the fatal injury is, of course, the most severe one. And in crash severity analysis, we try to understand the critical factors that contribute to these injury severity mechanisms. So what are the important factors that results in most severe crashes relative to other factors? That's the major focus of crash severity analysis, and from this kind of analysis we identify the countermeasures to reduce the consequence of these unfortunate events. And the injury severity profile varies by different road user groups. That's why we develop crash severity models by road user group rather than just one model for everybody together. And in this study, as I mentioned, our focus is to develop crash severity models for motorcyclist riders. The critical factors that we consider in developing this model can broadly be categorized as individual characteristics, vehicle, roadway, situational attributes, and other crash characteristics. Some of the individual characteristics could be gender, age, and in terms of motorcycle, it could be whether the rider was wearing a helmet or not. Among different individual characteristics, at fault status, it's considered to be one of the most important factors. And in Queensland, a controller is considered to be at fault if the person is identified to be most at fault in the crash, and it's generally is defined by the police who report the crash, or if the person is associated with any kind of traffic violations. So that's the definition of at fault status that we use in Queensland. It also varies across different jurisdictions and country. As you can see, at fault status, generally the riders who are associated with that fault status, they are likely to be the one who take high risk, who are engaged in illegal behavior. So in this study, we hypothesized that the injury severity profile of motorcyclist riders are likely to be different between at fault and non-at fault riders. So in modeling, it can result in self-selection bias or indigeneity bias. Also, some of the exogenous variable can have mediating effects through at fault status. And if we don't consider this indigeneity or indirect effect in modeling, it may result in biased estimates, and eventually we may end up identifying ineffective countermeasures. So to address this gap, in this study we modeled at fault status and injury severity of motorcyclist riders as two dimensions of injury severity mechanism. Specifically, in this study, we have examined endogeneity of at-fault in crash injury severity mechanism. We have also checked for indirect effect, and finally, we are also accommodated for unobserved heterogeneity in parameter estimates. And the empirical analysis involves a series of model estimation, but today I'll just talk about the most generalized formulation, which is a joint random parameters binary probit ordered probit model with recursive structure. I will not talk about the mathematical formulation in details, just to mention it quickly. In the joint system, the at-fault status is modeled by using random parameters binary ordered probit model, given that it's a binary outcome variable. And injury severity, it's an ordinal variable, so we used ordered probit framework to model injury severity outcome. The part that I highlighted in red, it's a Boolean function which integrates predicted at-fault status from the first equation. And finally, we model both of these components simultaneously by joining them through a normally distributed error term. And for this study, we used data from the state of Queensland for the year 2011 to 2018. Given that our focus is on at-fault status, we have considered only those crashes where a motorcycle was involved in crashes with other motor vehicles. This is the distribution of injury severity by fault status. As you can see, the injury severity profile is different between at-fault and non-at-fault groups. And I did not present the estimation result, but if anybody is interested, please just email me. I'll be more than happy to share the results. After model estimation, one of the major factors is to identify which factors are most important. So we take the model estimation results and we can convert those to elasticity effects, which is nothing but the percentage change in the probability of dependent variables if we change the exogenous variables. I have presented the elasticity effects for at-fault status in this slide. As you can see, unlicensed rider, that's the most important factor to be identified as an at-fault party. And the next one that I have highlighted is high posted speed limit locations, where the posted speed limits on the roadways are 80 to 90 or 100 or 110 kilometers per hour. And then here I have presented the elasticity effects from injury severity component, just for the fatal injury severity outcome. And as you can see, head-on crash is very severe for any road user group and also for motorcyclist rider. That's the most important factor in terms of injury severity outcome, and also high posted speed limit locations. And our interest, the predicted at-fault status, it also has positive effect, which supports our hypothesis that the motorcyclist riders who were identified to be the at-fault party, they are the one who were severely injured relative to the non-at-fault party. And based on these important factors, finally we identified several countermeasures which could be adopted to improve overall motorcyclist safety. And in road safety research, the 5E approach, policy measures, these are very popular because to improve overall road safety, we need multi-sectoral approach. So for this study, we can say that from education and enforcement perspective, we should identify measures to reduce unlicensed riding. Then from engineering and exposure measure, we can think about designing the roadway posted speed limit, taking into consideration motorcycle. At this stage, only motor vehicles are considered for designing posted speed limit. So given that in Queensland, the registration rate for motorcycle is increasing, perhaps it's time that we actually look into the roadways where we have higher motor vehicle, motorcyclist volume, and take that into consideration for our roadway design. And in terms of emergency medical service, nowadays the integration of automatic crash notification system in the vehicle is becoming quite popular. So that is something perhaps is also important to consider for motorcyclist safety. So these are just a few summaries that I have presented, but if anybody is interested, please reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to share. Thank you everyone for your patience in hearing.